They've been aiders and abettors. I mean, what should take the steam out of their argument is the Constitution and the principle that we've had in this country since its founding, that citizens, not members of Congress, decide who the president is. So those guys are impossible. These two people, like Cruz and Hawley, have been the beneficiaries of the American dream. They've had the best education, the best opportunities, and they've had the opportunity to serve as United States Senator. And what they're doing is pandering and be an accomplice and co-conspirator with Donald Trump rather than doing their job. So will it take the steam out of their arguments? There is no merit to their arguments to begin with. They're basically two corrupt politicians who don't care about the democratic principle of citizens deciding who their leader is going to be.
Congressman Welch, this is Keith Whitcomb with the Rutland Herald. I was wondering if the police response to this action would be any different had these people been BLM protesters or something similar. A lot of people have noticed different reactions to different groups.
You know, I can only talk about what I observed when literally the doors were being battered down in the House of Representatives. In the Capitol Police, they were wonderful. You know, the stress that they had to be under, where their lives were really insecure, and where their responsibility was to protect the members who were in that chamber. I just saw these people doing their job and being calm, but really concerned. So I can only speak about what I observed in this case, and I observed real bravery and people committed to doing the job that they were there to do.
Congressman Welch, this is Joseph Gresser from the Chronicle. In speaking with your colleagues off the floor of the House, have you been hearing significant comments about concern about the validity of the election?
You know, the biggest lament I've experienced in my service, this is my 15th year, is to see the collapse of many of my Republican colleagues who I've always respected into pandering and facilitating the Trump assertion literally about a vote being battered down in the House of. You know, if people aren't talking, I think if other people go on mute, that'll probably help some, because there'll be a lot of background noise. But I can try to answer that question again if you ask it again.
Congressman Welch, this is Cameron with the Messenger. I was just curious, is there a charge in the penal code for actions on behalf of a president, like what has occurred today?
Well, this is a crime. I don't know the penal code, but the prosecutors can figure that out. But this is a crime. I mean, it was incited by President Trump. He has been inviting people to come here for weeks and explaining that it'd be, quote, wild. That is encouraging that it be wild. So there's no question but that significant criminal conduct is occurring as we speak.
Congressman Welch, Colin with 7 Days here. Could you just give us your sort of assessment of the State of the Union right now? I mean, given that everything that's going on today, how would you describe America right now?
It's stressed and divided, but we've got a leader whose job, he's defined it as to create division in anger and bitterness. That's what President Trump has offered this country for the past 4 years. And I take hope in the fact that as contentious as it was, and the kind of person he was and the kind of campaign he was, the American people decided by 7 or 8 million votes that they wanted Joe Biden to be the president. And that is a decision to heal this country. And I think that I'm upbeat that we're in the process of doing that. We in this room right now, I'm in this secure location with a lot of my colleagues. When the floor in the House is clear, we're going back. And we're going to certify that decision that Americans made. And let me tell you, this is bad what's going on here. But we had the highest turnout in our history in that last presidential election. That is people taking seriously their pledge to be part of the future for our democracy. And of course, what happened in Georgia last night, where for the first time in the history of that state, an African American was sent to the United States Senate. And so there's a lot of resilience that we have, and there's a lot of work to be done. But let me say that what's happening here and what President Trump instigated, which was directly a part of making this happen, has done significant damage. But our job is to undo it.
And just to follow up quickly, 2 more weeks until President-elect Biden takes over. A lot can happen in 2 weeks. Do you think that President Trump should be removed? I'm seeing a lot about the 25th Amendment being thrown around. Do you feel like he can serve out the rest of these 2 weeks without causing more damage?
He'll try to do damage up until the day he is either evicted or walks out on his own power. It's very clear the president is continuing to make up phony statements, incite people to contest the election, which resulted in the violence that we've seen here in the Capitol today. We've just got to hang on. We in Congress have to certify the election, and Joe Biden is moving ahead with his transition, despite the resistance of the president. And January 20th is going to be here, and Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are going to raise their hands and take the oath of office and be the 46th President of the United States.
Congressman, have you been in touch with Senators Sanders and Leahy? Do you know their whereabouts and safety at this point?
I don't, and I'd love to know. They're good friends, and the Senate was breached. The criminals got on the Senate floor before they got onto the House floor. So I'm hoping they're safe. I've heard no reports of any members of Congress being hurt.
So you don't know if they've been evacuated from the chamber at this point?
Well, they had to. If they were in the chamber, they've been evacuated. All the members of Congress who were in the Senate or the House side had to be evacuated. But in fact, protesters, the criminals took over the House floor and took over the Senate floor.
Congressman, it's Pat Bradley again. When you were doing your tweets, you seemed fairly calm as you were doing your video tweets. Do you and other congressional representatives get training for situations like this, or was this just because initially you didn't know everything that was going on?
I think it's called raising a family, Pat. But seriously, there wasn't much we could do other than follow the instructions of the Capitol Police. And I got to tell you, any of us, when we're around a situation where it's out of our control, and we see people who are doing their job, and you just know that whatever they have to do, including put their life on the line on your behalf, they're going to do it. It's not only reassuring, but it's humbling. So the calm they had in doing their job, I think, was very calming for all of us who really had no idea of how serious it was, other than an awareness that it was really, really serious.
Hello, Congressman Welch.
Yeah, hi.
Hi, my name is Tiffany Tan from the Bennington Banner and the Brattleboro Reformer. I just wanted to ask if you and other representatives were prepared in any way by the Capitol Police that something like this could possibly happen today. What sort of security measures were taken beforehand?
Well, we weren't. We were told what the procedures were going to be, but none of us, the members, had any expectation that basically they were going to break the criminals were going to break the doors down in the Senate and in the House. But I will say, I know from experience, and this is what's surprising to me, all of my experience here with the Capitol Police is that they are really, really good at what they do. And of course, they have had to deal with State of the Unions with the president is here, the foreign leaders are here, and they really take seriously the security responsibility. So, of course, there's going to be an inquiry into what happened. None of us know and how did it happen. But I can say that from the inside, when folks were trying to break the doors down, everything I observed with the police that were around us, I admired them.
Just a follow-up question. Were you ever at any point in fear for your safety once the protesters had breached?
We were all in fear of our safety. I mean, the moment when I think it was the most scary was when we were on that balcony, we were told to lie down, and I had a couple of the Capitol Police officers literally right in front of me with their guns drawn, and they had given a report about tear gas having been deployed outside, and I don't know what the facts are on that. But then at that moment when I heard the battering down, the effort to batter down the entry door, and then I saw a Capitol Police officer in front of the door with the gun drawn, and I saw something coming through the door itself by people on the outside trying to get on the inside. That was scary. That was a moment where if people got in, we didn't know whether they were armed or not. But there have been reports of shots being fired. That was a scary moment for all of us who were there.
Congressman, this is Liam Elder Connors from Vermont Public Radio. Just you're talking about noise there, but
that little setback, we still have pretty sizable groups demonstrated trying to reach the north side of the Capitol. Capitol Police are holding it steady, along with other law
We're getting a report now.
agencies with us, but we're just going to need a little more time to clear the Capitol. So
we're just getting a report from the head of the Capitol Police that the intruders still are occupying parts of the Capitol. We're all waiting in the hopes that we can go back and finish our work. But apparently, the criminals who are in the building have not finished theirs. And I think the Capitol Police are taking every possible precaution to avoid bloodshed. That's my interpretation of things, and I salute them for that. I do think anybody who is involved in this should be prosecuted and punished to the fullest extent of the law. But I do appreciate the restraint and professionalism of the Capitol Police.
Congressman, just kind of given this moment that we're in, and you were talking about how you're going to go and certify the results of the election, how you still have some hope. I mean, I guess I'm just sort of wondering, how are you still hopeful about the democratic process playing out, given what we're seeing unfold right now in the Capitol?
Well, let me acknowledge it's incredibly dangerous. I've never ever seen anything like this, and I was involved in a lot of the protests in the 60s, the anti-war protests and the civil rights protests, and that was seen as a time of atonement. But in both cases, it was about trying to end a war or promote civil rights. This is about tearing down the democratic process. So, yes, any good-thinking American has to be extremely concerned about it. When I say I'm hopeful, what I mean is this. We don't pick the times we live in. We decide how we'll live in the times when we're here. And this is a moment of great peril for our democracy. And my hope is that we will find it in our souls to take on the challenge to revive our democracy. And that's not just wishful thinking. Look at what happened in this election. Maximum turnout, biggest election ever. Look what happened in Georgia. Now, people are refuting it, and this reaction is terrible. But that's an indication that citizens do want to hang in there and move through this. Incredibly hard, incredibly dangerous, huge damage that's been done by President Trump by inciting this kind of violence. Huge. But you know what? That's the times we're in, and we've got to move through.
Thank you.
Colin here again with 7 days. Congressman, could you just answer the question of whether you think the president needs to be removed before the next 2 weeks? I mean, do you think any 25th Amendment type things need to be discussed?
I'd support removing the president right away. I don't think it's realistic, but if anyone has earned impeachment or removal, President Trump has done it repeatedly. I mean, what he did trying to shake down the Secretary of State in Georgia just recently, it was so reminiscent of what he did to the president of Ukraine, where I participated in the impeachment of him there and where he, in fact, was impeached in the House. But right now, this conduct is more of the same from President Trump. And it's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. And it is impeachable, and I'd like to see it done. But I don't think that realistically that's going to happen. What I do think realistically is going to happen is that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris on January 20th are going to take the oath of office.
Thanks. And it looks like the president just released a statement on Twitter saying, in part, that it's time to go home. I mean, what's your response to that?
I'm sorry. It's time to go home. I mean, how about you should never have come? I mean, they're here at his invitation. This is pretty hollow. I mean, he's created the whirlwind here. And it's just a terrible scene that I'm part of. All of these in this secure location. And all of these members were doing their jobs. And the physical space would be like the House of Representatives in Montpelier. Suddenly, with the doors closed, there were people outside storming in with tear gas, some armed, and battering rams to tear down the doors and essentially disrupt and threaten and stop the work of the people that were sent to Montpelier, to the Capitol, to do their work.
Thanks.
And we'll have time for just one more question. All right. If no one else has a question, thank you all for coming. Peter, thanks for sharing your experiences.
Yeah. Let me just say one last thing. I want to salute the press. You know, I was in the balcony, and if any of you have been down in the Capitol, there's a row, a long row where the press gets to do its work, and they were in every bit as much peril as any of the members who were present. In fact, they had more reason to be apprehensive because they were getting the feed of what was going on the outside. But you know, we can't have a democracy without a free press. And we have the folks there in peril, in harm's way, doing their job. I want to salute the members of the press who did that.
Representative Welch, did you say anything about the report of someone being shot inside the Capitol?
I don't know anything about that. I've heard reports and I heard noise. It sounded like a shot, but I don't have any information on that.
All right. Thank you all. Have a good day.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, stay safe.
Thank you.